Is that better? Transition. There. Hello, check.
It's like having sex with an optometrist. You know what I mean? Better like this. Better like this.
Yep,
Better like
we're good.
this. Better
We're
like
good
this.
now.
We're good
Yep,
now.
yep.
All right. So how about we, Seth, just take everything we said and fix it. Because hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your guest, the John Day.
I'm your co-host Austin.
And I'm your co-host Dan.
This podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs when you can hear us.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Our show may not be suitable for young children, but neither is our D&D games.
Yep.
Absolutely not. If you have seen us play Avernus recently, it is obviously not for children.
No.
I am really excited for today's episode. John Day, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Our Let's Talk About Blank segment, we're going to be discussing the psionic options revisited. For our main topic, we're going to be talking the Game Shop, a series written by and directed by the man, the myth, the legend, John Day. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey man, I'm super happy to be here and happy to be amongst fellow nerds.
Yay!
Annoying.
If you enjoy our show and you'd like to support us, head on over to critacademy.com, check out our Patreon page, pick up maybe some of our best-selling D&D content, or just subscribe to our newsletter. You get free stuff just for entering. Every single week we give away fat loot, so definitely check it out. I also want to give a nudge that at the end of the month on 4:30, we are going, I think it's 4:30, I probably should be checking my calendar just before I actually say that. We are going to be releasing a new product. I'm sorry, yes, 4:30. We are going to be releasing weapon perks. It is an extension to the weapons equipment in the player's handbook, where each weapon has a unique trait. As long as your character is proficient with them, they can utilize that trait. So that way, your weapon meaning has an impact, quite literally. So those choices become more
In most
important.
cases.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. That being said, Crit Nation, thank you so much for joining us today here at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like a town without your favorite local shop.
Yeah, I've lived in that town and it sucks.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it really is pretty crappy. So
It's
And you're like standing in like a Barnes and Noble or Books a Million, just shaking your head, looking at all the people, and you're like, I have to do this. I have to do this. I
yeah,
don't
like
have a
I
oh,
work at Barnes and Noble, so it's even funnier. So I quite literally get to see it all happen in real time. Like, oh well.
Well, what's interesting is depending on how long you've worked there, that you have an interesting perspective because a few years ago, 2014, let's say, when Barnes and Noble, was still a store then, the D&D shelf was probably, we'll give it 9, maybe 10 inches. According to my wife, that's more like 6, but um, now it's a much larger section of the store, and that's
Oh,
kind of where our game shop story takes place.
yes.
yeah, absolutely. It takes up an entire like shelf, like a whole bookshelf now. It's kind of crazy.
From 9 to 6
Very
inches.
cool.
You've been lying to me for years.
That actually made me think of back when I was like part of a game club in college. As the PR guy of the group, I actually went to the local game shop, see if we get our members could get discounts there, and we, for the most part, actually did pretty good in that regard.
Hmm.
But I remember I went to the local bookshop and tried to see if we could get one there too, and their attitude was, "Why would I do this for you guys?" Even though I make it clear, like, we use game books this thick. They're $50 each. You will make money off this.
Yes,
That's so funny.
that's
And they
hilarious.
still said no, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. It's funny because I'm getting to the point now where I'm talking to people, and people want to hear fun stories, and I like here's a example. I was like, oh man, I used to rob Books a Million so much. Let me tell you all about it. But I can't do that because that's petty whatever, maybe even felony if they add up all my stories. So we'll skip over all that.
You're like, I don't really want to do
All right.
that.
Before we get into our main topic, we have our Let's Talk About Blink segment. We are going to be talking about the Psionic Options Revisited. Now, this is an edit to a previous release of the Psionic Options from Unearthed Arcana. And they've made some good changes based on the feedback that the 10 of us actually fill out and send back to them.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure.
if you don't know, psionics is basically powers that come from a creature's mind. In current lore, the most well-known are the Mind Flayers and the Githyanki and Githzerai. They are psionic builds, but there is currently not an official psionics class. Well, they tried a psionics class. It was the Mystic, and it didn't work for a multitude of reasons that I'm... so it's like...
Oh, sorry, that was my official professional opinion.
It didn't work out so well. It was either broken or not too weak or too complex, what have you. So they recently redid an Unearthed Arcana that instead of building an entire class, because that was too complex apparently, they decided to take a different approach, which I'm kind of a fan of personally, but we'll get to that shortly. Instead, they built psionic archetypes. So pretty much anybody can be into psionics. And this Unearthed Arcana Revisited is some adjustments to a previous one that they released.
Yeah,
Specifically,
they cared. It's kind of like they cared. You know, it's like maybe somebody cared. Because the first time I looked at that and I'm like, nah, dude, these dudes ate In-N-Out Burger, they got high, and they went back to playing like Red Dead Redemption 1 or whatever they were playing. It's terrible. You know, they got Red Dead Redemption 2 this time. They got the good horse. They really put some time into the mental aspect of what it was.
I remember looking at the Psionic Fighter, Psi Fighter, was that what it's called?
Psionic Fighter. Is it Cyanite?
It's Cyanite now, but I think previously it was Psionic Fighter, and it was just stupid. It was so strong looking, like I don't know. And now it's like this. They definitely toned down a little bit of it because it didn't get like permanent buffs.
Why don't we talk about some of the mechanics? Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
And actually, for that matter, building them as archetypes in 5th edition makes way more sense because look how long it took for us to even get a new class with Eberron.
Yeah, honestly.
And as a designer myself, I can personally attest that it is way easier to balance a subclass than it is to balance an entire new class. So
right,
yeah.
Because I tried that once. I will probably never build more than one full class because it was just way too much work. So that being said, why don't we dig into the psionic powers here a little bit? Ian, or actually, our buddy John here seemed to have some pretty interesting noises. Overall, is there anything about the psionic options for the fighter that you thought was interesting? Or do you have any thoughts on it? Or any of them, for that matter.
My thoughts are I haven't got to dig in like I want to. Like I didn't turn my nose up at all the way. I just kind of glanced through it. But it looks like it might be okay. To me, it's a resource. You know, you're spending a resource economy like key points or whatever. It's just trying to balance that resource out into the mechanics of the action economy. And that's there you go. There's your, you know, if people are like, oh, it's got feathers and it does this and fucking flies and it has, look, does it have a balanced resource that it spends in an action economy that makes it copacetic with everything else in the game?
Okay. Am I the only person that doesn't know what copacetic means?
Yes.
In context, I figured it out, but I've never heard that word. So kudos to you, John, for having a huge ass vocabulary right alongside fuck.
Right.
So I want to give my thoughts on the knight first. I think this is really interesting. So the core mechanic of all the psionic archetypes is the Psionic Talent Die, which is basically a die that you roll to and expend and decreases and increases depending on the conditions. And then once it's gone, once it decreases to nothing, you have to get a long rest to get back. And I think that's kind of cool. And that same die is used across all the different talents, which I think, or all the different archetypes, which I think is great.
Yeah, it definitely unifies it really well, I think. So I like that a lot.
And I'll admit, I tend to not look at Unearthed Arcana too closely, just because I always feel like by the time they release it, they always change the living crap out of it anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. And a lot of that I think has to do with player feedback. So for all of you that take the time to do that, kudos to you.
And I'll admit, my impression of the Psi die, if you will, is I kind of wish they would just like pick a number for the level range and just stick with it instead of having it
go up and down
around too much. Because I personally, as a player, prefer consistency.
Yeah.
And
That's my personal take, at least.
And I'm kind of like the other side of the coin, where I'm like, this is a really interesting, like, not necessarily resource management, because it's still luck based at the end, right? Because if you roll 1, it decreases, or no, it increases.
It increases.
Sorry.
If you roll a 6, it goes down.
Exactly. Thank you. But what I do like about it a lot is the second part where it says Psi replenishment.
Yep.
It's just a bonus action. It sets it right back to normal. So if you already lost it, you can just go.
Yeah, I can see that.
And
so it's in case you like just overcharge it too many times, like immediately. Like maybe you're lucky, I guess, in a way you rolled, max numbers, 2-3 times in a row, and now you lost it. You just had it, right? So.
Yeah.
I like that they've they've broken into 3, and for me it's the Scion. I hate this dabbling into it. It's kind of a war. This is the fighter based one. This is this base one.
Mm-hmm.
It's all mental powers, all psionics. Like that's the test. Like can that creation go and hang? And I think Ion's the test of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that they did. I do think that they managed to achieve that because, in my opinion, that's why I think it's a better mixed archetypes than its own class, because psionics can appear in anybody, right? So because of that, that person might be a rogue, that person might be a fighter, that person might already have innate magics in them and just happen to double up on mental powers too, So
you have to watch out for combos because munchkins are everywhere.
Munchkins are everywhere, and that's definitely
Definitely there's something wrong with, for the record.
Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ! Mute yourself.
That was fucking savage. Anyway, so
I'm not even mad.
I was to mute myself, just for the record. The mute yourself was for me.
Oh, he's talking to Ian.
Out of my mouth.
I was talking to Ian too. I was like, holy shit.
I laughed at that point instead of all the words I'm sorry. Ready?
Yep.
Oh man.
But anyway, everybody has their own play style, and that's okay. But I think
that's wrong.
Yeah. But I think part of the issue too, though, that we've seen with the last couple of design documents for the Scions is, let's be real here. Whether you think it's true or not, Psionic classes in D&D does have a reputation. Like 3.5 backwards, when they have appeared, they have been pretty overpowered.
Yeah.
And that's something I've heard consistently enough. I'm like, okay, that's probably true. And they did eventually put Psionics in 4th edition. And they probably were way too overly cautious with that one too. And comparatively speaking with other classes, they were relatively weak, save if you build them correctly, but you have to build it in that way for it to be any work. So I kind of see that caution with the past couple of documents we've seen with Psionics in this 5th edition.
Right. So for those that are listening and haven't actually read this, I do want to give a quick rundown. So honestly, in my opinion, the Psionic Fighter treads too much on the Eldritch Knight as far as the powers that it has. It creates a field, boom, shield. It creates a power leap, poof, you have the teleport dash. And then it's got telekinetic strike that lets you propel and do extra damage, a la cantrip.
It's the game you play on toddlers where you're like, do you want this sippy cup with your left hand? And they're like, no. And you put it behind your back and you hand it to them around the right hand. You're like, do you want this sippy cup? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
That being said, I think they did a really great job with the Rogue Soul Knife.
Very interesting. I like this one a lot.
This is very much that mutant X-Men woman, Psylocke. Also Melina from Mortal Kombat. Like with this, you could have a decent a ranged throwing build because you can summon the things and throw them, and it doesn't matter if they don't come back because you just make new ones as you throw them every time you make an attack. And I thought that was dope as hell.
Yeah.
Plus psychic damage. Hell yeah. I mean,
yeah, psychic damage is crazy.
That was kind of the shtick for that one, which I thought was really cool. None of the abilities outside of that for that really stuck out at me. I think you get finer control, and so you get some special bonuses in regards to your psionic die. But the cool thing was, you guys ever watch Naruto? They got the old Hokage who throws the dagger and teleports to it. That's one of the Soul Blade's abilities, and I thought that was fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if any of you know Final Fantasy 15, it's Noctis. That's a big one too. Yeah.
That would have been a more notable reference. I should have went with that.
I feel like they're both pretty notable. Fourth Hokage is huge.
He's so notable I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's
Minato?
Yeah, there it is, Minato. Minota, whatever his name is.
Minato.
Anyways, and then you also have the Soul Sorcerer. I thought that was the least interesting of all of them. I'm gonna be honest.
I feel like it's a little lacking.
Yeah,
It is.
But the psychic
why I have to
aura
shit
was
on it.
cool, but like it's like like that's like an 18th level. Like you can't. I don't know. It's definitely lacking in comparison. Definitely the Soul Blade Rogue, Soul Knife Rogue was definitely
came
the
out really
most.
good.
The highlight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
for sure.
agree. And of course, go ahead, Ian. You're gonna say something.
And it's also worth noting too that they also include new spells for non-psionic classes to take as well as new feats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to touch on the feats a little bit. We're not going to go through them, but I
Sure.
think it's great that there are now feats that follow that flavor. So even if you don't include any of the unearthed arcana archetypes, giving some of these spells options to a player who wants to play a telekinetic based wizard or sorcerer or something will help with that flavor. Which is
Here's
really part of
the
it.
vacuum though. You know, wizard and fighter, right? So you go so far into this to where, like we'll talk about in a little while, you have racial traits and magic items that are specific to worlds or specific to even races or lores.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think one of the first things that we should put together would be don't listeners, just us. Um, Jesus, dumbass. What you do is you basing like a compendium of like the racial feats compendium, but let's make a racial legendary weapons and then or racial magic weapons and run through a couple of uncommons, a couple of rare, and da da da. That would be, I think, a fun exercise to
Yeah.
publish that compendium to go along with a lot of this different stuff that's
You
going
know
on.
what you need to do?
If you're like, I'm going to try this new character out, well, here's some actually cool shit that goes with it to balance what is already out there.
If that's something you're serious about, shoot me an email and I'm on
I'm
it.
always curious.
Because I've been off, so I'm just finished up my third book since I've been off. So I'm a publishing machine. I mean, I've got other things planned for the next couple months, but I'm always down for new shit. So, anyways, overall, I thought these were really cool. I do want to give a huge shout out to the one of the cantrip that's in here called Mind Sliver, because I love the mechanic that they used. I would weaken the damage, but basically for a cantrip, you do 1d6 psychic damage, and then the first time the target would make a saving throw, they roll a d4 and subtract it from the roll. I think that is a really cool
I like
mechanic.
that a lot.
I think the damage is a little high, though.
I'm actually going to disagree with you on that one because we have like some cantrips that do more damage but still inflict other effects.
Yeah.
And we have seen some other low damage
Matt.
cantrips too that still screw with you. Like
look at what is it? Toll the Dead.
Toll of the Dead? Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
Toll of the Dead.
yeah.
And that does way more damage.
Yeah, that's a thump. That's a nice thump with an after effect. That's what Ian's saying.
Right. I understand that, but the reason why I think this damage is too much, because messing with somebody's save is the difference between not taking damage or inducing damage, but potentially mind controlling or completely removing somebody from combat. That to me makes that more powerful than just slowing somebody down or imposing disadvantage on a single attack. So
that's why, yeah.
But I also point out too that
Madness extra dope.
Also, on top of that, the target still has to make an intelligence saving throw anyway, just for it to even get that subtraction to begin with. So I think it's still justified. You still have to go through another hoop on top of that.
Yeah, there's an extra layer of insulation kind of.
Well, it's not an attack roll.
Mockery is only a D4, and that basically gives your enemy disadvantage on attacks, and that's pretty.
Only on one attack, right? On its next
Vicious
attack.
Mockery is the greatest cantrip that ever is cantripped.
But and to Ian's point and to your point, John, that's exactly why I think it's too powerful and the damage die needs to be brought down, because Vicious Mockery, once again, this is an intelligence save. That's what, a charisma or wisdom, I forget.
Sorry guys, I accidentally agreed with him.
Oh, damn it. Son of a bitch. So because of that, yes, if we use the Vicious Mockery, which was the metric I was comparing it with, it's 1d4 for disadvantage on a single attack. 1d6 for a d4 on a save that might lose control of that character entirely seems more powerful to me, but that's just my opinion.
But it also says the next save, not all saves, next save.
That's true, but still that next save is still this person's mind controlled, this person's disintegrated, this person's, whatever. But anyways, that's just my opinion, and maybe they'll change it, maybe they won't, maybe we'll never see it. But I love this cantrip, and I love the idea of this, so if you start seeing this shit in my monsters and some of my magic items, you'll know why.
I mean, crap. I've even seen stuff back in the original playtest that I still go, why was this not brought in the main game?
Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, they collect a lot of data now from the players, so I'm sure some of that has something to do with it. Anyways, do you guys have any other overall thoughts? Would you like to see this stuff as options in our games?
I would love to see this stuff, honestly. All three of the subclasses, the cantrips, everything. I love this style of stuff, so this is cool.
Okay.
I like having it's another little facet to cover in my theory, which I'll talk a little bit more later. But we're talking about making characters and then making them bad guys after their characters.
Yes.
Like making your NPCs as characters. Well, we can talk a little more about that later. But
with permission,
I would use these a little bit more in my game as challenges.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons I love the Unearthed Arcana stuff, is because even if I don't use it as make it available to my players, oh, you bet your ass my monsters get it.
I know, you don't know how many blood hunters I've let my players get.
That's awesome. So I think that'll do it for our Let's Talk About Blank segment. Do you agree with our thoughts on the Unearthed Arcana? If you do, please send us email. If you don't, please don't bother, because I'm not going to read it.
If you don't tell it to our YouTube comments, it'll help the YouTube algorithm anyway. So
yeah, there you go. Go to YouTube and leave it in the comments section.
Just leave a comment.
Somebody will see it.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. I encourage anybody to send me stuff because I do enjoy a good debate.
That's true.
So,
He does.
All right. So before we move on to our main topic, we have a gift to give away. Austin, would you like to tell us about it?
Always. The gift to give away today is by Loresmith, the Modular Dungeon Tiles, the Arcania set. The Modular Dungeon Tiles are an easy way to create your own beautiful digital maps. The Arcania lets you make dark, shadowy dungeon maps rich with the fumes of arcane secrets. On one hand, you might find a lich. That's a really bad thing. On the other hand, you might find a Vorpal Blade. That's really good. So
that's right. Hey, John, who's our winner today?
The winner looks like it's 14 Hibbary.
Woo! Congratulations. Please put some stuff in there for
Seth?
No, I'm talking to Seth, but I was gonna put some music or something in there for that. I think he does. I think he puts the applause in. So kudos. Anyways,
I'm bringing a t-shirt cannon next time. I just want to be clear.
Shoot it and blow out his screen. If he can see through it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, I'll fix
that. Anyways, if you didn't win, have no problem. Head on over to critacademy.com/Loresmith. You can pick up a free set of digital terrain as well as some one-page adventures. If you sign up for our website, you'll be entered to win this thing. So we give it away every single week. So come and do it. Yeah. Woo.
That's a pretty high, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We're pretty awesome when it comes to fat loots. Now.
Fat loots.
Moving on to our main topic. Today we are discussing the Game Shop with John Day. Thank you once again for joining us, John. We appreciate it so much, man.
Yeah, no problem. Of course, I'm shooting video, so my video doesn't work. It's like an Andy Kaufman thing. We'll just go with that.
Well, that's okay. They can see into your soul with that little eye picture there. So.
Can't they though? The soul stealers.
So
I'll come back with a t-shirt cannon and a video that works. But we're doing this today. We're doing this today. So yeah.
Can you, for those that don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, all that jazz?
Sure. I'm a finance guy in real life in Cajun country, Louisiana, near the Gulf of Mexico. A 40-year-old guy who played D&D for about 20 years. Ran into a guy wearing a D&D shirt at a fancy party in about 2015 after about a 10-year break. Bunch of, fancy party, everybody's all dressed up. There's a little pudgy Asian guy with a it's like D&D something, and I walk over and I was like, "Hey nerd, what's up?" And of course, that's sort of a weird way to greet people until you know their intentions. And I said, "No, it's awesome, D&D. I used to fucking play." Turns out that Doctor, his name blank, held D&D, and we started playing and got into Lost Mines, and he loves to run great modules with cool terrain and minis. And I got into 5e pretty heavy because I hadn't played in 3.5 and then Pathfinder. I didn't have a wheelbarrow to bring my dice around for Pathfinder. 4th edition, it's just like they shat all over the game and nobody cared, and some sort of horrible Tarantino movie, and the writers are all just shooting each other. I'm not sure what happened. It's just my opinion. Don't send me hate mail.
I will later.
So-
Right after this, you'll get an email from me.
So I joined. I'm a old dude, so I got on Facebook, and I looked up D&D page, and there's like a D&D page with 100,000 people on there. And then I said, I don't know what it was, but I said some funny shit, and people were like, "Hey, you got to be careful. It's 2018. You can't say funny shit or whatever." And I'm like, "But fuck that, funny shit. Say that shit if you need to. It's important. And you're telling a truth. Be able to laugh at yourself and others, but don't punch down and blah blah blah." And they were like, "Nope, booted." And I'm like, "That is a bunch of bullshit." But when you type after you're blocked, it's your own thing. It's not really doing anything.
It's just you're fuming yourself. There ain't nobody to vent to or hear it.
So I formed. I helped join and form a web page. I would show you the shirt that I'm wearing right now. This is the Andy Kaufman part where I show it to you anyway, but you don't see it.
That's a really nice shirt you got there, man.
It's the
Great shirt.
logo.
I would love to pick it up.
It's the logo. If you look up 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons uncensored, you'll see a fat red dragon with his middle
finger up like this.
like he's hanging out of a truck with a don't sign.
Who did the art for that? Because that's a really nice piece. I like that.
So I designed it, and then Marco, a longtime member, made it into it. Like I literally sent the scratch on a yellow pad with lines to him, and he came back. He's like, "How's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, let's make T-shirts." So we did that. We have a web page, and we just do fun shit. And we really try to. Our thing is, you have a fucking block button, so use it. Like, we have 30,000 D&D degenerates. I lovingly address them as goblins. There's all kinds of people. Right now, there's some sort of trend. It's like they take pictures of yourself and you put it on. You're like, what kind of vibe do I give off? Barbarian, sorcerer, and most
fucking
people have
commoner.
Most people have fun with it, but it's an uncensored page. So one guy's like, what kind of vibes do I give off? And some people like you should stay 500 feet away from a school. And like, oh my God, oh, the rage and the typing. And I'm like, God damn it, you fuckers block each other. I don't have time for this. But we don't allow Nazis. We don't allow racism. We don't allow punching down really hard. We don't allow aggressive place. We do allow. What's cool about it is because you do have some whatever duality you want to assign it to, political, different thoughts, different spectrums, life, whatever's, and they can have conversations. And we have one rule, which I love. I did not plan this before I saw the notes. We have one rule. It's on our logo. It says, the logo is Ghostbusters don't sign, a little B, the letter A, and an eggplant, which obviously means don't be a dick. And that's the only rule. And so that's what I've been doing for a few. That's what I've been doing for a few years. I formed a company about a little bit less than a year ago called Dragon Media Groups. Got the website, got the LLC, did all that with a couple of friends, and we're brainstorming ideas. One we're working on is Body by Dragon, which is a online fitness thing to where when you get your online fitness, and instead of your gym or your guy or your yoga fucker, you get a workbook, and you're either a fighter or a cleric, and that's how you start off. And we've got a nurse and a physical therapist and certified personal trainers, and we all play D&D, and they're going to do this online shit, and you're going to tie it into Fitbit and blah, blah, blah. But what I'm working on, my brain trust of the project, is the Game Shoppe.
All right. You're getting a little ahead of us for a second. I'm excited to talk about that.
And I'll admit, back when we could go to the gym before they all get shut down, I actually would often wear a T-shirt that says, I work out so I can at least do some of the things my D&D character can.
Right. No, and that's a big thing. Like, not to plug my other business friends and stuff, but you're not going to get and sweat. A lot of our community is sedentary. A lot of the gaming that we do is seated in chairs, whether it's virtual or whether it's sitting at a table. So a lot of our community is sedentary. Well, I'm not saying every fat gamer is a fat gamer. I'm just saying outside would do you some good, Shaq. That's how we would say it down here. But I want people to be able to, whether they have weights or whether they have whatever, you can actually take control of what you eat a little bit and do 20, 30 minutes worth of shit and get in fighting stance. HEMA, H-E-M-A, look it up, listeners. historical European martial arts. It's fencing with long swords.
Oh yeah,
Like,
actually, I do know about this. Hold up.
You want to know how if you're like, my sword fight in my game, go watch some fucking HEMA
I just
videos.
accidentally went to HEMA.nl, and I don't know that I want to be here.
I don't know. It's .nl, historical European martial arts. It's real.
I found the real one.
Armored fencing, and with long swords and shields
Kick
and
some
bucklers.
ass.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, like literally, yeah.
Unfortunately, the closest place is in Lansing for us. So.
We got a little bit of a distance, but I guess a little more back onto our interview here.
Sorry, go back. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Which it's a great conversation so far. What is your most memorable D&D moment?
My most memorable D&D moment probably was it goes back to one of my what I call my root characters, where I got to play a halfling, and that halfling was sort of like a kinder in my mind from Dragonlance. I was reading those books at that time, and
I know what
so
that is now.
I got this halfling, Master Fenwick, and he was a creation that I got to play for almost a whole summer. One of those golden stand by me 12, 13-year-old. That's all we fucking did all fucking day. All fucking day. Summer and most nights, summers. And we played D&D and it was epic. And I have a friend who took a lot of that shit down in journals, and we tried to read it, but it's like going back and watching Airwolf. You're like, this shit sucks. But we had a lot of fun. It's a great memory.
That's good.
So yeah, when I got back in creating Master Fenwick and having to bringing him back and several different 5th edition iterations.
Okay.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
All right then. And now moving on to your actual experience, where do you feel you have at most failed as a DM or as a player, and what did you learn from that experience?
See, now that's a tough one. I looked at that one before the interview, and failing as a DM and a player, as a player, you can fail by sort of giving up on yourself or being the asshole at the table if you don't realize it. And what I mean by like bad fun wrong as far as phones. We're all sitting around. There's 6 of us. We're playing a D&D game. Everything's kind of fast paced. It's a thing rolling. Everybody knows the rules. This, that, and the other. Look at that asshole. He's on his phone. What? Yeah, you're on your phone. We were talking about you, and you didn't listen. That whole conversation. We stopped playing the fucking game. You're on the phone. I'm sorry. I don't give a so. Those are the things because I'll free speaking. So getting things session 0, I'm big on it.
It's true.
That's when I failed. When I didn't properly plan in session 0 or commit to some shit where I've let somebody in or let some player come in who's that's my biggest failing, I guess, lately in the last couple of years is let a player come play who's not committed. I'm not saying like you cathy filthy casual fuck. I'm not saying like that. I'm saying like doesn't care about the game, shows up, barely remembers what happened last time. It's just kind of there. It's a social thing, and you want to bring people in like that. You want to.
I thought you were gonna say me.
Yeah.
I never remember what the fuck happens last session. I just remember going absolutely animalistic in it.
Thank you, Matt.
That's awesome, though.
That's all right. We got Matt for that.
Yep.
Yeah, we have Matt the scribe, so it works out.
So very cool. That's definitely something that I think gets overlooked a lot in some games where the DM or the players might have an expectation, but since it's not communicated early on, they're either disappointed or they break that agreement that nobody actually made because one person's used to having it and the other person has no idea. So
here's my thing with Dungeons and Dragons, really deep philosophy stuff. All right, you got 2 different schools of thought, and most of it's a blended idea, like cannabis is, right?
Yes. Yep.
One is a collaborative storytelling. One is a dungeon master versus players. And so dungeon master versus players, to some degree, there's always that in every game. But collaborative storytelling goes down to the details of, as a DM, when you say, swing for your attack. Oh, it's great. It's you roll. Now describe it, narrate it. Well, you missed. Well, how'd you fucking miss?
How'd you miss?
I swing over and the ship lands in the dirt. Great, thanks. Go on to the next person. Bring your people into the narration and collaborative storytell. And that's, you get into sandboxes and railroads after that. But
that's actually really funny because we actually had a character collaborative story building moment when I was like, I want to go buy a longsword, but we need to role play it, and Justin was like, okay.
Yeah.
My DM, who usually tells us what to do, was like, okay, sure, we can do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of in the same vein too. One thing that comes across to me as everybody has their own play style, and sometimes you need to learn how to mesh with other people's, or sometimes you just playing Clash.
Yeah, dude, you have to
Yeah.
love everybody. Like, just because somebody comes in, like, let's say I was running a game in a library, and they were like, no more porn in the library. Play D&D. And I was like, okay, Ralph.
Like out.
I'm not gonna get through this interview without like losing my spleen from laughter, man.
No, yeah, there's no way.
So that in that situation, somebody walks up and you're like, hey, what's everybody playing? It's a cool. We're at a con, whatever. It's an AL game. You know, you have to be open to it. Somebody's like, I'm a Sorlockadin. You're like, you get out. No. You know,
get that coffee lock out of here.
Oh my god.
You have to accept everybody at least.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my whole DM player thing. And then you have, you don't want to just sabotage DMs. There's a lot of players. Those people are assholes. Who like, hey, look, you want to look at my backstory and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, everything's cool. Are you cool? Let me see that shit. Did you roll it? Is it stat by? Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Is it decent? All right. You playing? Everything's good? Yeah. And I can see in small print where you had the fucking displacer cloak, and now you're at a disadvantage every time I try. Well, yeah, but you didn't say. Shut the fuck up! You're trying to hide it. You know, it's all about intention.
And sometimes too, a DM just have to step in and
swat them.
Are you saying falling rocks?
Police the players.
Backhand them.
Like I remember one time
I ran.
Because I remember like one game I ran, there was like one time where you play, it's like, I'm now down to this HP, and the player who's playing it clearly, it's like, no, don't you tell me that. You're metagaming, your character does not know what your HP is at, and so on and so forth. And I had to step in and go, look, as a DM, what they're doing is perfectly okay.
I always ran that. I don't talk about HP when I'm playing. You know, I'll go with lightly, moderately, heavily damaged, wounded, whatever.
You be fucked up.
But that's okay, because everybody has their own playstyle.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so I think there's a lot to learn from that.
That's my D&D background and my thoughts of how I come in. And hopefully we can all play D&D again another time.
Yeah. If you want to DM, I am down for it.
The last game I ran online was great. We ran it and it was fun. I took it from the page. I said, "Who wants to play in my game?" And 500 people were like, "Me."
Narrowing 500 down to 5.
And I was like, "Okay, here's the thing. I'm playing a module. It's Chult. Everyone has to be a goblin. Now, who wants to play?"
5 people.
Yeah, I got a good little group together and made some friends, and we ran Chult as goblins. It was fantastic.
So,
I'd do it.
Now, on to why you're here.
Sure.
Because I know what the Game Shop is. You know what the Game Shop is. Sure. These guys kind of know what the Game Shop is. But why don't you tell everyone what the Game Shop is and how it came to be?
So, the Game Shop is a story about a comic book store, an FLGS, owned by a man named Kevin Smith. No, not that Kevin Smith.
That's what I thought. I was all excited.
And he has sold his soul, like a warlock, to this documentary film crew, who is they're going to come in and film his store dying, and if they win, he gets the money to keep it alive. So that's what you find out in the pilot. It's basically a story of a dying game shop and what a lot of what you're seeing out there in the real market versus perception. These kids, they have conversations about Halo and League and other. That's gaming to them. Like, that's a gaming. It's a whole separate subculture now.
I thought that was a really nice touch, actually, and I appreciated that.
And just like any other good thing, like cannabis, it's going to be some sort of blend. There's going to be a hybridization of the technology and the virtual aspect, and then still needing human contact and social gaming and rolling bones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, so you've put this together. You've written out the script, which, by the way, thank you for sharing the script with me. That shit is funny. I was
It was
cracking up
really
reading through
good.
that thing.
You know, a lot of what I got. Here's what I'll say, and I got it out of my mouth a long time ago. Imagine watching The Office, but it's set in a comic book shop.
Yep.
Like that's
Is a
that's the easiest way for someone who's seen The Office, and it's not like Parks and Rec, and it's not. Oh, is it like? No, it's not like any of that shit.
The shit.
Yeah, I just kind of what that actually made me flash back to is the comic shop I used to go to when I was in Mount Pleasant. There was it was
you got a comic shop like this? That's intense.
it was one point where it was when in the comics the death in the family story was going on when Batman died, and they're trying to figure out who's going to take up the mantle of the new Batman. And out of the blue, I heard the comic shop owner go, "Okay, I want to know who from the Big Bang Theory hid a microphone in my store because they had in one of the episodes them talking about that storyline, and the conversations the characters were having about that storyline were the same ones he was hearing in his store."
The recording, huh? That's
That's
funny.
funny.
That's
I like that.
The game shop is basically
Yeah.
here's the thing about it. Kevin Smith. Here's where it started. You asked that was part of the question. Where did it start from? So I was sitting with my friend Kevin, who owns our local small town comic book shop.
now. Is this the same Kevin?
His name is Kevin Sincamino, and I
Okay,
can
different Kevin. Got
yeah, good luck spelling it. That's how hard he is to find. Um, but so we're talking and we're laughing, and I'm talking, and I'm sort of imagining I don't know, like a TikTok now. I guess the easiest way to say it, just making a funny video um, of a guy that doesn't play games. Like Kevin Sincamino owns this shop. He used to collect sports cards. He used to collect baseball cards. Now he knows comics. He's been running this shop for 20 years. So I imagined a guy who doesn't know comics and doesn't like pop culture and doesn't have any of that stuff. He just owns this game shop because baseball was a game to him. If you see the logo, um,
Yep, on the it's not up on the
he's
screen now, but
Kevin
it's in the
Smith's not
beginning.
a gamer. Kevin Smith always loses. Kevin Smith uh, is just the guy that is bumbling along trying to get this place to stay afloat. He's hired his manager Devon, gay black guy in his 30s, and then another employee Tandy, young 25-year-old hot bounce of excitement, and they
I was
basically
gonna say stripper.
eh, um, we're looking at some interesting people to cast. There's a DM. It's basically they're trying to film a game. So the whole
Right.
pilot is they're trying to film a game of D&D. Stefan Picorni, I don't know if I can put this all out there, but I should be using Dwarven Forge terrain. It should be a badass, amazing D&D set. If anybody knows Dwarven Forge,
Yeah,
um,
shit's expensive and out of my price range, but looks
eh,
gorgeous.
yeah.
Just like
I
I
got
mentioned.
So imagine a scenario
Yeah.
where they've got the lights off and they're trying to just film a D&D set, a student documentary crew, and Kevin bursts in uh, and a couple of times Kramer style, and that's really what happens, and you find out that the store is going down, and Kevin is he going to take one more swing at the ball? Everything to Kevin's a baseball jersey. I mean, a baseball analogy. When you see him, he's hat backwards, uh, maybe in every single time. A 42 jersey, like a Ronnie Lott jersey, or a Jackie Robinson jersey, or a Teen Wolf jersey from Michael J.
I
Fox.
know Teen Wolf. That's the only
Yes.
reference I got.
So look, all of those jerseys have the letter 42 on it. He's a big fan of Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide. Got a
Yep,
signed Jackie
I got
Robinson
that.
bat,
I get that reference too
Mhm.
now.
and you know, he really doesn't want to film the death rattle of his store,
Right.
but it's the only way he has a shot of keeping it open.
So we, as gamers, I don't. we used to rely very much on comic book stores and those sorts of game
Sure.
stores to really get our fix, right? You had to,
Sure.
hey mom, well I'm getting older, but hey mom, take me in the car, give me a comic shop so I can buy some Magic cards or I can pick up a comic or whatever, and that's how you got that stuff. So there really wasn't a really a place to go out other than that. Now, do you think that the reason that they're failing is tied to just online sales, or
Oh, it's
is there
everything.
something else that's causing these
it's
our favorite local game shops to close?
it's directly related to that. As far as online sales and the easy to get it, that's why you'll see the game shops that remain will keep a Magic tourney open. They'll have a pretty strong Warhammer community,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're official Games Workshop or not. You don't see, some game shops. You still see some D&D, but game shops have become this amalgamation of hobby and fandom, and so that's one of the things that we're cluing in on. As I talk to real people in the industry, and talk to people at Wizards that have actually looked at scripts and seen different ideas. It's how many people that play D&D thought that maybe they'd write a movie about it.
Right.
I'm talking about all that have a microphone and can speak, because at least one of you motherfuckers is like, this game is awesome. It should be on TV. For real. Make a movie out of this. Somebody call James Cameron. I got this shit. I took notes. I recorded that shit. We all have that feeling. But the problem is those games that have all been pitched are too game specific. So you're tying in one fandom, you're tying into a comic book, you're tying into a thing. And that's one thing that the real Kevin Smith sort of branched out and did, is a bunch of different fandom. This show is going to be a window into what I keep calling our community. And people are like, well, what's your community and what's my community? I'm like, I don't know what your community is, but if you decide you can be in my community, that's what we do. I mean, it's nerddom, it's fandom, it's cons, it's gaming, it's online. It's just because I'm making a show about the FLGS and the playing, I'm not going to be like, well, I will tell you, I give you a spoiler right now. Spoiler, ready? Who knows what Overwatch is? Raise their hand. Okay. So who knows what the O'Doyles are in Adam Sandler movies?
O'Doyle rules!
I've combined these two concepts.
You are a man after my own heart.
So, the rough, I mean, if I was in my camera, I'd be doing the West Side Story where I step backwards and snap my feet, those guys are the bad guys. And so we've set them up to antagonize Kevin. And Kevin's whole thing is to get through this, he's going to have to try new things. Just like we all are. We're all going to have to try new things in this post-corona apocalypse shit, and we're going to have to figure it out. I've got old friends. I'm so sorry. We can't play D&D. I'm like, motherfucker, we got together every other week, and we drink bourbon, and we do things, and we're all old men. We drink cigars and stuff, smoke cigars, whatever, and play D&D, and he was so happy about it. And then there was coronavirus, and I was like, Dad, man, my wife's a nurse. I'm not about it. We're not going to do that shit. And I'm like, hey, put your earphones on. There's a computer. And his answer was, get off my lawn. I mean, just we have to adapt. And juxtaposition what you see in the game shop, what the viewer's going to see is there's going to be a lot of good stuff that people in our community are going to recognize and relate to, the plight of these characters and these individuals. And there's going to be enough to where it's not shot from inside. That's the documentary crew angle. We've built another level in. This is the window into our community for the outside. Sort of like a Big Bang Theory, I guess, because Big Bang Theory had mass appeal and people know what nerd shit is. I mean, Gary Con was featured on Big Bang, so I'm not going to hate on it,
Right.
But that window into the community has to be shot right. It has to be shot sympathetically. It has to be shot truthfully. But what we're going to realize, what you and I know, I think, what fucking the accountants at fucking Wisco know, that D&D has made more money in the last 2 years than it did in the last 25.
Yeah.
And that's just point blank.
Yep.
They're rolling it over.
Yeah.
A few years
Thanks,
ago,
Critical Role.
all of a sudden, people come out with fucking Tim Burton movies and Blade, and all of a sudden, Blade, shit, watch this. And Marvel made $1 billion, like times a bunch. So you're going to see D&D break all that. You're going to see D&D break mainstream, and it's happening right now when they're like, hey, Ryan Reynolds, when you're not shooting Deadpool 7, what do y'all do in the trailer? And he's like, we go in the trailer, we play D&D.
He's like,
yeah,
what do you guys mean? Like,
yeah, the metrics shoot through the roof. Joe Maniello, Satine Phoenix, and then you have the Matt Mercers and the Matt Colvilles and a bunch of other people who are, have recognizable people.
Yeah, I know that episode with Vin Diesel was really popular because not only people love
yes.
D&D, but people love Fast and the Furious and Triple X, and now this guy's like, yeah, I got that shit tattooed across my stomach.
I know, like that's one of those things. Remember, I was talking to you earlier about the Sorlakadin.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's Vin Diesel. He's like, I'm Vin Diesel and I like D&D, and I'm like, God damn it, Vin Diesel.
But
Hey,
I think he did.
yeah,
such
man.
a
A lot of people like your movies and stuff. I mean, a lot of people. It's cool. You have a seat. You gotta.
So I have a question. So we're talking about what we can do. Why local game shops are closing and everything. And there's a point of contention I've been wanting to bring up on the show for a while, and I don't think I have. And I think this is the best opportunity.
Okay.
I have noticed that some local game shops charge for their D&D service. Now, personally, before anybody else gives their opinion, I'm okay with that because, hey, they need to keep the lights on. But I know there's a lot of people like, why would I pay to play when I can play at home, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that if that became a standard, that could help or would hinder local game shops?
So I'll speak on this professionally and then with my rash opinion. Um, Professionally, I think you got to explore whatever you got to do as a business. Business is a business first. This is all fandom and branding and marketing at its core. It just happens to be an art and ethos that we support and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
looking at it backwards doesn't help.
True.
So that's where if that's something that a game shop needs to explore. Like I've seen one guy that went out of business, unfortunately, had a huge storage thing in the back, and he was going to set up stuff where people could come and podcast and stream and all this other. It was like a show up, push button, stream your D&D.
Oh, that's cool.
Damn, that would have been
And
awesome. Yeah.
And I think that's going to. I mean, if there was a little bit more market for it, I think if I was in a bigger city, I could do it. I think that's coming. That's my professional opinion.
Okay, tell us the other opinion.
My rational rant is I get so deep in it with these people. They're like, paid DMing is a sin against Jesus, and I will not have it. And I'm like, oh my God. I get it. That's not bad fun wrong. It's really not bad fun wrong. It's you have to just be okay with the fact that art is commercial and commercial is art. And the Red Hot Chili Peppers are a fantastic old band that never sold out, but they sold out the moment they made an album.
Mm-hmm.
Can you keep your art the way you want to do it? Look at somebody. I always go back to. I'm a music guy. Go back to old bands, right? Radiohead. Radiohead made a album called Pablo Honey. It had Creep on it. Creep was the biggest hit in the fucking world, and they said, "Hey, play that song, only that song, all the time." And the radio, and they were like, "Fuck you, we're not playing that song." And all the AR people and all the people that do all, they were like, "We won't have any cocaine or cool watches. You have to play that song." And they were like, "No." They were like, "You want to come here? We'll shit on you. You're gonna have no pool, no fucking labradoodle, nothing." And they're like, "That's it. That's what we'll do. We'll just be a rock band again, tours and gigs." And then they became Radiohead again. So can you keep your art intact enough and still understand it's commercial? And that's whether you're paying a professional for DM lessons. That's a thing. You want to learn to be a voice actor? Take voice acting lessons. You want to be able to learn to be an actor? Take acting lessons. You want to learn to be a cool DM? Find somebody who thinks a cool DM that's selling their service, but on Zoom, blah blah blah, and take some classes. Like that's my thing. I'm like it's all about it. I'm full on Scrooge McDuck, or what's his, yeah. I mean, I think it's great, but I think it's important that people like me, and I'll tap my own shoulder here for a second. I think it's important that people like me get where they need to go in this industry, and I want to hold the art sacred, and that's what DMG is for. I formed Dragon Media Groups to get from your passion and put it in your pocketbook. And whether that gets you into an industry or whether it's a side hustle or whether it's whatever it is to you, it can be something. And a lot of people are writing cool shit out there, and they can put it on DM's Guild. And you can have you guys should have a workshop on how to do that. And charge people, say, hey, I want to do that shit. Look at all this shit on my notebook. And they're like, notebook? That's extra. I don't read. You type that shit, you lazy. I will charge you extra. You pay it? $300.
So you DM for
$300, you
free.
pay it? Ian, you will type this shit.
You DM for free, and then you make packages. The first
Sure.
one is dice. This
Yeah,
$5 more, you get pencils.
Yeah.
The second, third, and tier, you get a map, but no minis.
That's right. You have to figure it all out. Look,
Yeah.
if you're creating content, if you want to be a content creator in any way, that's what we call artists nowadays. If you want to be a content creator, you have to be able to create your content in a way that takes three things that I think are important. No fear, open heart, sheer will. You combine those things and you can pretty much do anything.
You know what? As a content creator, I can 100% say that I am totally on board with that, because the amount of time, effort, blood, sweat that goes into this show, into the content that we produce, is backbreaking sometimes. Not physically, because it's not labor, but the amount it really is, it's tough. And so people that put that content out really do work their asses off.
You see, so here's my little relation to that. So let's say that you started writing when you were about 40, and you had a hot project that you were revisioning, and you sat at a desk for 50 of 60 hours. And your wife is like, what are you doing? This is in madness. And you're like, I'm working. And that still counts. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's not backbreaking, but when you're talking, when you're moving with passion, when you're pushing your passion forward, that takes energy.
Yep.
And
this.
Yeah.
Lots of money.
All right. Money's the easy part if you have enough content and you have the right content and you are willing to put it out there. I am old and technologically stupid. Everyone is so lucky that I don't have so much money and an army of can I say midget? Am I still allowed to say midget in 2020? Midget. I want little peoples.
I guess.
Dressed. My
Oompa
wife.
Loompas?
No. What you
like what?
Somebody said,
like
yeah, like Oompa Loompas.
Because you sound awful lot like the guy from Charlie and Chocolate Factory.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. Thank you.
I need Tecaloompas.
Oh my God, we're gonna get shut down because of you.
No, I'm bringing the t-shirt on next time.
That's funny.
Yeah, like that knows shit. Because I'm old, I don't know this shit. People are. I mean, look how hard it was for me to sign on to this fucking thing.
All he had to do was click a link, and we still couldn't get to work.
No, I'm using some sort of too old computer. I mean, it's on it. You just have to keep pushing it forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next question. What do you think about the crew that you work with for this little doc you guys are putting together?
Okay, quickly. I will. I've got 2 writers that help me. I've got a couple of friends that help me brainstorm on the far ends.
Butt hurts.
And I've got it on a 3-tier system. I like the butt hurts. And so you guys will know about the 3-tier system first. Tier 1 is a friends and family shoot, and we can do it for probably less than $10,000, and we've got that scraped up and hidden in couches and moonshine. The tier 2 is about a $25,000 production. We've got a couple of people who are looking to fund that, and that involves bringing in a guy from the Page, actually, from LA. I won't put him on blast yet, but working, active, IMDb-able, viable filmmaker in LA.
Wow.
Come down here, shoot it. I don't know if I can say exactly, but there's a certain DM that she's very popular. And we're in talks with her to actually play the DM. So that's who we're working with right now. We've got some feelers out towards Kevin Smith, and we'll get a little further with that next week.
Didn't I see you like freak out because he actually liked one of the comments?
I did freak out. I should not drink in my social media. We have all figured that out every time. I did freak out a little bit because I'm me. I hope I come across as me in this interview. I kind of am sort of settled into the fact that there's no video because I think you'll be surprised next time.
You're like, damn, put it back on the Dragon Eye. Put it back on the Dragon Eye.
Yeah. That's it's easy to figure out where you want to go with the show once you have the right people. So we're trying to fill the three tiers in. Tier 1, I said friends and family. Tier 2, indie production. And tier 3 is what we call the Goldilocks factor, what my writing mentor and a few other mentors call the Goldilocks factor. And we don't know if that'll fall in, but that's phone calls with Kevin Smith will do that. We'll see. I mean, I've been harassing him on Twitter. So if you, hey, look, don't follow me on Twitter because Twitter's stupid. But follow Kevin Smith from the Game Shop on Twitter at @this_Kevin Smith. Because the real Kevin Smith is @that Kevin Smith.
So @this_Kevin Smith.
My character is @this_Kevin Smith. So he's this Kevin Smith, and the other guy's that Kevin Smith. So I've basically been harassing him and tagging him in guerrilla Twitter marketing, but I don't know if that's okay either. We'll find out.
I'll find out, I guess.
Hey, but on Cameo, on Cameo, you guys have computers. You can Google this. Marilyn Giahetti. She played Dante's girlfriend, the famous quote from 37 Dicks in a Row to the parking lot. For $37, you can have her send a message to somebody from Cameo.
Did you even figure that out?
I'm probably because I just I do shit.
yeah.
And so I started like, oh man, I'm sending her a message. My friend's like, hey, look at Cameo. Send somebody a message like a birthday message from Andy Dick for $100. I'm like, fuck, Andy Dick's funny, but not $100 funny. Come on, And then, sorry, Andy Dick. I know we're gonna meet soon. I know you're gonna hear this. Whatever. So if we started talking about finding people. We was looking at people on Clerks. We looked for Jason Mewes. We looked for Jason Lee, and a friend found Marilyn Giahetti, and her price is $37. So because of the 37 Dicks and Kevin's 37. Kevin Smith's real fascination with 37. Like my Kevin Smith's fascination with 42.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's you say how do you get it out there? Well, if you can find an old coworker of someone and send them a message, that's another way to get their attention.
Yeah. Or go ask some guys on a very not super popular podcast that may be popular someday. Who knows? And come appear on their show.
Hey man, I hope that I have to pretend Jimmy Fallon is funny soon. I will remember you guys. You will get a shout out when I hit Fallon right now.
You're talking to Jimmy Fallon. I just want to talk about the third step that I stepped out on my way to success.
No, it's good. This is good. This is good for all of us. Where are we at in questions? I'm trying to follow along.
Actually, you kind of already stepped into it a little bit, which was what kind of challenges did you run into? You kind of briefly mentioned about just like finding the people for it and stuff. But what other if any, I guess at that point, challenges did you run into?
Because to my understanding, you have a script. You're just trying to get the funds the actors.
For those of you that are ever interested, I'll give you a quick 101 free YouTube blah 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 of how to understand how to sell a show. If you want to write a movie or a film of any kind, you have two kinds of things. You have a property and a production. The property is your paper, your legals. It's your company that's responsible for writing. It's the Bible of the show, which people can Google that, whether it's a series or whether it's a feature. Mm-hmm. And you have all that separate, and there's a chance that you can sell that paper or sell that property. And that's what most writers do. Well, we were going to make fucking TikToks with Kevin answering the phone going, Game Shop, this is Kevin. Huh? Yeah, Kevin Smith. No, not the famous one. Yes, that is disappointing. Yeah. Did you need something? Hold on. Devon, is there a comic called 37 Dicks? Devon, in a row. What the fuck are y'all talking about? Insane. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's his life.
I remember reading through that and I was like, that is great. That's gold. Like literally. I love
Good
shit
stuff.
like that. It's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope it works out. I hope we get some attention and get some traction. We're gonna shoot this and put it on YouTube with our own bare hands, as they say.
Yeah.
Before the fall or winter. Hopefully, we're looking at tier 2 at least because we got the money for it. So that's bringing in actors that aren't me to play Kevin. Thank God. I mean, I'm funny. Look, obviously, I'm funny, and I'm gonna audition. But I mean, if it's like me and Jack Black, it's kind of like the Chippendales, Chris Farley, Patrick Swayze thing.
You watch some weird shit, man.
And I'm like, okay, fuck it.
All
Just
over the
pay
place.
Jack Black, pay Jack Black to do this. I'm fucking going to the back of my trailer. We'll see.
I don't know if he's talking about a movie trailer or his home trailer.
Either way. Somebody's like, I'm going back to my house. The kind you rotate your wheels on it, motherfucker.
I know, some of your project sounds to me awesome because I've spent time in game shops. I had fun there. I've definitely had good groups there, and my major in college was broadcasting, and I managed to get a job in that field too. So to me, this is the things I love in one package. So I'm all for it.
Well, we're really looking forward to trying to expand it. You know what they do to save the shop, and how. I mean, imagine this asshole actually starts podcasting. You know, and we follow him doing that. We've got a bunch of ideas of how he's going to step into. We were writing a scene the other day where they walk in. If you guys have all voted, or at least you know what voting is in theory, right?
Yes.
So you walk in and there's a sort of a standing curtain that's waist high usually, and you walk in, you pull the little curtain. So imagine like just a desk version of that, like at some sort of testing center where everybody has a little tiny desk cubicle, except Kevin's put a little curtain around them, and he's now renting those computers for online gaming, and making fun of them while they have their headphones on. I mean, it's just there's a lot of comic gold, and because here's what you find, and I never got to this. I'll close with this.
Okay.
What the Game Shop is about is the renaissance that's happening in gaming. The renaissance that's happening in gaming, the renaissance that's happening in the culture, the commercial break, the wave breaking against the sand, the grass swell of real nerd culture, whether it's comic culture or gaming culture. You're going to see all these countercultures and subcultures and subclasses. All that's breaking mainstream. And it's pretty funny that you can write a show about it dying, and people are like, hell yeah, it's dying. Because that's what we talked about at the beginning of the interview. That's what we talked about our own game stores. Maybe they are dying, and there's this perception where they are, but they're not. Tabletop gaming's not going anywhere. You're going to be able to walk in and have something as big as a pool table. It's all going to be like on Star Wars, AR, VR. Warhammer games are going to take fucking 90 minutes instead of fucking 5 hours.
5 hours? You get it done in 5 hours?
Yeah, no, well, we get to turn 3 and fucking argue. Like, with their kids for the weekend.
After you guys put away the protractors and everything.
Right. So that's the truth of it, and I think it's going to be a nice comedic window into a couple of different relatable characters that are going to show our community in a really great light.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I'm excited for this, because we recently had a game shop close down, and honestly, to me it was a big loss.
Yeah, it was really recent, wasn't it?
Well,
last year.
Was it last year?
Oh, still fairly recent, I guess. Yeah.
I miss it because it's a block away from my apartment.
But so
what do they sell there? I mean, like, see, that's the different thing about game shops is you have some people like that's called niche marketing. I don't know where you guys are geographically. I haven't stalked all you yet for filing. If you live in a city with 100,000 people in it, you have access to X. If you live in a city with 2 million people in it, we actually have GW shops, and you have I have some friends in Houston, and these motherfuckers are they're all adults,
are they?
But they pay rent. Like there's literally 12 of them, and they all pay I think $200, maybe $250 a month. It's a nice little note, right? But they all have keys to a house that they go play in, like this big 3-bedroom brick house that's nothing but fucking gaming, and every single room is set up for gaming or podcasting or some sort of game table. You know?
Huh.
I live in the wrong part of the world.
Apparently, so do I.
Well, yeah, it's 'cause like 10 minutes from where I live, so yeah.
Yep.
So, obviously, I really support this. I want to see this get as much traction
man.
behind it and push behind it.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you
for
decide you need an extra overweight fat guy into it, let me know. I'll make the
You know
drive.
what's funny is we have an abundance of those.
Oh.
As
maybe
we,
maybe a small guy that's 5'6".
yeah. What we're gonna make through the first crew, what we're gonna need is a bunch of kids. Like that's the first thing that really struck me as we're writing. Like I've got a bunch of stuff planned out that I don't want to share, but it's gonna involve a whole lot of children and a whole lot of swearing, which is funny,
Yeah.
in and of itself.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I think we learned that if anybody's watched that
Good boys,
well that in the show with the girl 11, what's that? That's
Stranger Things.
yeah, Stranger Things, Little kids
And-
swearing just hilarious, period.
And let's
Yeah.
not forget the movie Kick-Ass.
Yeah. Oh, I love Kick-Ass. Anyways, so if people would want to support this or they want to follow you and keep up to date, where can they go to where's this information consolidated for people to maybe go and if you're looking for people to hire or people to if they want to contact you guys, all that stuff.
Yeah, we built a complete and total website and had it up and running for 7 or 8 minutes. Um,
I'm sorry, that's not funny, but it's kind of
no,
funny.
it's supposed to be. It's because I'm talking. It's funny. It's good. We completely destroyed it and redid it because we need a bunch of legal stuff in because this might go. That's the thing. I guess my one real caveat that I'd share with somebody is if you're really about to break and you're really about to talk to people, like have your ducks in a row and your shit together. Because I've had those conversations. They're like, "Hey, is the blank blank stuff where you've done all the things and the format and the thing is ready to send to the people and the stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Cool. You'll send that shit at 8 a.m." And I'm eating cereal at 11:30, watching like old Cartoon Network shit. I'm like, ugh,
Tomorrow?
yeah, I will do that shit. I was like, fire up the Death Wish copy and somebody hand me some gummies. I have typing to do, you know.
Very
Um,
cool.
and so we have to get it done. So that's what I'm working on now.
Do you have a
Where you can follow right now is the Facebook. That's to
okay.
answer your question. I've got a cool little Facebook page where I flex, between personalities. What I want people to do is follow at @disc_Kevin Smith on Twitter and try to get Kevin Smith's attention. I think that would be the most fun. But we're going to break out with a full-blown website and place for volunteers, especially if we go into tier 2 production sometime around. I know you're going to ask this, July, depending on the apocalypse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I guess we don't have to
Yeah.
ask that now since you just included it.
The apocalypse.
Yeah, no, that's been the only thing. We were supposed to start shooting some test shots on April 5th. So
Okay.
we're already behind.
Right.
But that's really given, I don't know. I mean, if I hadn't had the apocalypse, that's one of the things I guess that's really kind of a weird thing for me specifically, not like an ocean.
Right. If I had to give one, can I give you
Yeah.
one small piece of advice?
Yeah.
If you do a trailer, it needs to include just that scene you just read to us.
Oh yeah,
Because hell yes.
The Game Shop, this is Kevin's. That's where we've written about 13 of those, and that's these. Those are just the ones that really sort of stick in my mind because it's over and over and over again. We have him being trolled like the bartender Moe in The Simpsons. It's the recurring joke. We'll probably have a bunch of those out on YouTube or whatever prior to that.
That's a good idea. That shit's funny.
But some of them are quick and simple. Game Shop, this is Kevin. Yes, Kevin Smith. No, not that Kevin Smith. Yes, I did hear he owns a comic book store. Pretty sure I'm not him. Pretty fucking sure.
Yeah.
Swearing adds to it.
Well, and that's one of the fun things that you're going to see is we had to look at censoring the art because when you sculpt in swear words like Robin Williams or George Carlton or some of the greats, Richard Pryor, fucking Dave Chappelle, when you sculpt in profanity, you have to be aware of the market. So, can I put this on YouTube? I can say transvestite donkey witch if I want to put it on YouTube, but people will send me hate mail just for those 5 or 6 words I just put out. But that was a South Park thing, not me.
Right.
Um, but when I'm trying to put this on TV, potentially HBO, potentially Netflix, potentially whatever,
Got to be
I
more
had to,
mindful.
yeah, I had to address it. So we addressed it really cleverly, I thought.
I did. I think I saw you said you're only allowed one fuck, right, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. All the Fs, all the F bombs, all the fucks are bleeped in the whole show, in the whole
Mhm.
script, except
Okay.
for one. And they say it's for the rules. But if you go back and you look at the script, I mean, he says, well, why only one beep? Well, we only get one beep because of the rules. One beep. We only on one beep. Well, there's going to be plenty to beep choose from. You know,
Oh
that's
my God. I am.
the quick pace and the lots of swearing. And there's one part where they're interviewing Kevin, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Kevin. This fucking beep thing's scratching beep me," and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." He's like, "I'm sorry," and they're like, "That's cool. We'll fix it in post. Actually, we're gonna put fun sounds over it."
Oh,
So
that's funny.
it might be a fun thing because you're watching it through the documentary eyes. So these
Right.
guys might
Right.
go back and put hoo ha and the sound, Western sounds, or dinosaur sounds or
Clown horn.
what? Yeah,
Or
cowbell, tong, little girl going, "Who my?" Joyce Sakai going, "Oh my,"
right.
all kinds of fun shit that we can add into the zany, quick pace comedy.
I love
Mhm.
it. I really, really love it, man.
I'm looking forward to getting it to the next step and coming back to talk to you about it a
Yeah.
little more.
Yeah, when you start shooting, send us snippets, man. I'll give you my feedback of what I like and what I don't like. Because my opinion matters to me.
Well, it's
At least he fixed his statement right at the very. I'm like, hold on.
you see that I was listening to reply as well, but he sort of nipped it there at the end.
Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about the game shop. Like I
Absolutely.
said, if you guys, if this sounds like something you would want to support as a nerdy listener, Crit Nation, please head on over to Quitter. What the fuck, Justin?
same thing. Quit Twitter. Just don't do it.
Head on
Yeah,
over to Twitter to @this_Kevin Smith. Tell them what you liked if you heard about it on the show, or give them
please
a
do. Yeah.
follow and all that jazz. Or you can
Yeah.
follow on Facebook. There's a link to the Game Shop Facebook group on on the show notes as well. So
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really do appreciate it. Love the show, and looking forward to. I hope that my first impression went well, and that you guys will play D&D with
oh,
me.
you're not
That's
off the hook yet. We still got another
Yeah,
segment of the show,
still
boy.
man. Okay, hold on.
He's
I'm
like,
still
I
gonna.
gotta get the fuck out of here.
No, no, I
It's
need
like,
nice.
I'm done talking
Okay.
about
I
myself.
know. Yeah.
Like-
Okay. I'm
He's
ready.
like the rogue using cunning action. I gotta hide.
Right in plain sight.
Hey, dude, goblins are dope like that. Nope, goblins are like, I disappear. What do you mean? I mean, I disappear. I fucking disappear. I don't know what your mechanics of dice say, but
I'm
I
gone.
just,
I need to put on those scribes quick.
all right, I'm in. Round 2. Let's go. Ding ding.
Before we move on to our Under Tips and Tricks segment, we have another gift to give away. Compliments of Jeff Stevens. Ian, would you like to tell our listeners about it?
I can totally do that. Revolutionize your game with this collection of 28 villainous NPCs, ranging from small fry to world enders, 8 of which include maps, details of their lairs, sinister side quests, terrifying overlords, bounties, one-shots, and more lie inside waiting for you. We present to you, Jeff Stevens, Villains and Lairs 2.
Yeah.
Woo!
Remember, guys, this is the second one.
John, who is our winner today?
Nix_hobby stop.
Woo!
Yay!
This really feels less exciting without all the audio.
Yeah,
and, And you would think after a month I probably would have went outside and got the tablet. I was like, whatever. Congratulations, Nix_hobby_stop. If you enjoy the adventure, please leave Jeff Stiffens a review. Tell him what you liked about it. Tell him you got it from us here at Crit Academy. If you didn't win, have no fear. The boys at Crit Academy are here. Head on over to critacademy.com/Jeff Stevens and get Villains and Layers 3 free. You're welcome, Jeff. Jeff, thank you, Jeff. Because of Jeff, not because of us. Yes, do that.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'm definitely bringing gifts next time. Like I brought rum, but I'm drinking it.
Hey, rum is always good.
I would totally share my rum with you, but next time I will bring gifts. We'll have it all. This is great. I love this.
That's funny. Moving on to our Unearthed Tips and Tricks segment. It's your favorite. It's our favorite. It's everyone's favorite. It's the secret sauce to our D&D podcast sandwich, our Unearthed Tips and Tricks. And our first UTT is our character concept. Austin, would you like to tell us a little bit about the Shaded Seer?
Absolutely. This is the Shaded Seer from the Game Master's stash. It is often said that the Dark Priestess of Lolth are not Lilith. Had to really take a look at that one. Are the dark beating heart of the Underdark. If this is true, then the Shaded Seer is the all-seeing eye.
Ooh.
She sits atop her throne upon an ancient subterranean ziggurat. Ziggurat?
I don't know.
2 G's.
Yeah, as she studies and weaves the webs of fate. Many journey to her in search of wisdom or favor. Only a few are ever permitted an audience. However, those that have come back from the encounter, different. What? Different. It may be not.
Far different.
I copied that. I did not write that. So
I will come back and write too. Apparently, that sounds.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's a copy and paste. That's not on me.
I'm like, we know English here, right?
Hey, I pay editors
we're
for a
familiar
reason.
with it. No is sort of subjective and relative.
Anyway, however, those that have come back from the encounter are different. It may not be a big difference, but they are never quite the same. She often attracts the ire of Lolth and her followers, as she often makes a point of exposing the hypocrisy of the church. This tension has led to many assassination attempts and a few minor border skirmishers. However, tensions grow by the day as the seer seems to be amassing a force of her own.
Now, normally our encounter concepts are specifically able to be NPC or PC. This one is more of like a short adventure, big bad, or an important NPC plot line to a plot line. I really like this idea because I don't include enough of the Underdark sort of stuff. And
there's some weird stuff in the Underdark.
I know, right?
Like weird stuff.
And if you are looking to delve into it, this could be a really great character with a hook to bring your characters into the Underdark, aside from the traditional, hey, you ran into a drow, which is kind of how I imagine most go, but I don't really know since I've never done it.
Right.
But I love the idea of this Shaded Seer, this priestess of Lolth, who, is dark, but isn't necessarily just outright villainous to the point that she kills. She offers wisdom and favor. So for me, I see this being like an NPC that the players need to seek out to gain some source of information, but she requires some sort of weird ass payment. What do you think, John?
She'd slide right into OTA. That's one of my favorite. I'm a module guy. I mean, I homebrew like by the seat of my pants in different forms of mental states, but normally. But I like homebrews. I can dig a homebrew. Without giving too much spoilers away, I think it's the most challenging 5e module so far.
Oh yeah. Can you tell us what that module stands for?
Sure. Out of the Abyss.
Ah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Without giving too many spoilers. So here's what I did. I had my 6 characters all roll up characters, and then I took the character sheets and I brought them back after session 0 for session 1, and I handed them back to them, but I had adjusted it for them to where they was just them and their underwear. So that's how it starts. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay.
You completely you're like, they're like, can I have a magical item? It's like, you're level fucking 1. Which one is a magical item? I just want this, like Boots of Elvenkind or something, because that's how you get that shit at Walmart. And I'm like, there's no Boots of Elvenkind at Walmart. There's no Walmart in Faerun, and you can't get that shit because you're level 1. And they're like, okay.
You want a magic item? I'll make this stick disappear up your
but
ass.
they're like, I'm like, you might be going in the Underdark. They're like, oh fuck yeah, I'll get candles and all kinds of Underdark shit. And you're like, cool. And then you take your character. What's even good is you can start them at level 5. That's what's great about this module. You can easily dump level 5, level 10 characters into this adventure. And the first thing you do is you rob them of all their gear and throw them in a drow prison with about, I want to say, 7 or 8 NPCs.
Something like that. Yeah, I remember reading.
Being ready to fucking do some voices or whatever, or be a badass DM. But it's a good adventure. But this would fit great there.
Yeah, I agree. I do think you could even pull this off with a player character if you decided to play like a drow knowledge domain cleric or death domain cleric.
I could see that,
or even a divination wizard. I think that would work. So, overall, I think this is a great concept. Ian, do you have anything to say on it?
Nothing to add.
Alrighty. That'll do it for our character concept, the Shaded Seer from Game Master Stash. If you're not following our Crit Nation buddies over at Game Master Stash, you need to. They put out some amazing content every single day. Like, I don't even know how they keep up with that shit.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'd like to bring back what we were talking about for a character concept, for a bad guy concept, Master Fenwick's bad guy iteration of that day. Long story short is you take a 15th level halfling, mostly lore bard with a little bit of warlock, give them the lucky feat and then all of the halfling racial lucky feats.
Damn.
All right.
It's a lot of lucky.
Right. Now you're talking about Domino from Deadpool. Like I had this character was like, I'll jump out of the airship. And they're like, where are you going? They're like, bye. And they jump out of the airship. And of course there's a fucking Disney theme park, to land in when he drops.
Right.
And that's a great.
That does sound awesome. Like, cause
I'd like to come back and flesh that out with you guys and see if that would actually make a decent.
I think you can make it do it, especially if you combined it with the divination wizard, the lucky feat, the halfling feature.
Well,
I mean, all of that stuff. You control it.
Yeah, to me, you guys are Crit Academy, and you have a great access to what it is and how it is. And I think one of the things that you could do would be take someone like me, because there's plenty of like me's out there. There's a lot of people who have a little bit of creative or a little bit of content, but I don't know how to take Master Fenwick's bad guy and put him on DM's Guild. Right? I don't know how to do that. I mean, you could even tell me, but there's buttons, dude. And I'm like, yeah.
There's buttons, dude.
You can make cool videos and kind of thing, and do your screen and thing, and you can actually show some people who might be technologically challenged a little bit how to do that. And I would be willing to take my little piece of creative and flow it through there and see how it works. And you say, oh, here's the part where you need art. I can go get art.
And I have thought about that. In fact, I've streamed a couple times to my patrons of how I was doing my process before, and I need to do another
people
one.
Pay you? God damn it! I need patrons. Even Justin has patrons.
They are pretty awesome.
I was talking to my cat. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But that is something that I have considered, and I think because you've brought it up, I will put more effort into. I am using a new process from the last time I did it, so I think it would be good to show people a multitude of different ways to do it. If you haven't, RP Davis has done a couple good videos on some of that stuff too, so you can find him.
Hey, I'm willing to help. Sounds fun.
Yep. All right, moving on to our monster variant, we have the Accruing Crusader. Now, following with the theme of last week, where the upcoming Mythic Odyssey of Theros setting, I went through and I picked up a magic card from that campaign setting, and I used it for the inspiration of this monster. Ian, would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Today we are covering the Accruing Crusader from Theros. The Accruing Crusader is a soldier that has proven themselves on the battlefield and commands the respect of their troops, who obeys their orders without question. They fight shoulder to shoulder and leave the battle with their shields or on them. For Alex, for Thamid, long may they live.
I like how we leave it with our shields or on top of our shields. Usually it's there's no in between. It's impressive otherwise.
So
look, so here's what the deal is. So if you've got the whole screen in a little bitty window, your mute buttons is fuck all as works. It doesn't work. So what happens is you start reading, and a Crowan soldier's worth is measured by the number of swords raised by his battle cry. And then I hear, oh, you motherfuckers just talking in the morgue, me like I'm just nothing. And I'm like, this is bullshit. And then I realize that I'm muted. So I'm like, oh, I'm a dumbass. I will unmute myself. And I press unmute, and the unmute doesn't work. I'm like, this is bullshit. I had to make a large window.
that's funny. Did you have some comments on that?
You know, that makes me think of the war monster from Judge Dredd. Like that's always a fascinating concept to me.
Sure.
The warlock. I like the concept. It's back to the old. Oh, I wish I could make a Beastmaster in 5e.
Yeah, you're not gonna get no support from me. I think that's a great class. So
yeah, of course it is. I want, but they don't have but it's shitty. They don't have a cool control mechanism right now yet, in my opinion, for a lot of the control mechanism classes and necromancers and beasts, because they're like, well, it'd be OP, and you're like, I know, shut the fuck up.
There it is.
And but look, this is a war soldier. It's an Accruing Crusader. It's like Kronk I was telling you about. Like one of the best guard. You have to be creative when you're putting monsters out there. Like if you put a monster out there and you want it to live and be a big melee combat fucking beast, then take another small melee combat beast that's Goliath. Because the Goliath has an intelligence of what, Alex?
I don't know.
What is not a whole bunch for 400? Yeah.
Thank you so much,
You're
babe.
like
It's my
you're
wife.
like this wizard. Hey, Justin's wife. This wizard. It doesn't matter because he's an abjuration wizard. So you have like a 12th level abjuration wizard Goliath. Does he give a fuck about Wall of Force or any of the other stuff that he has to cast in his intelligence being low? No, he does not. Did he pick Warcaster? Yes, he did. So now you have to go get the shield generator like in Star Wars, and you have to go to the fucking Endor first. You have to go and kill the Kronk before you can kill the big bad. And I think that's sort of along the lines of this kind of monster variant, directing the traffic of the aggression.
Ian, would you like to tell us how? Because I really like where he went there, and I honestly think it was a little better than what I came up with. But do you want to tell us about how they
patrons? I don't have any patrons yet.
You'll get there. It only took me 3 years to get like 50.
Nice.
Slow process.
Dude, you probably make dollars. God damn it, that's real dollars. I'm sorry.
Well,
keep going.
Most of it goes into reinvesting in the show, but there is
I'll
the good
go
news
beside
is
the
it's not out of my pocket no more.
Right?
That was hard to convince the wife to let me keep doing
now
it.
we just imp out the cats. Okay, keep going.
All right, Ian, would you like to tell us about how to build this? How we built the Accruing Crusader? Though once again, I think his idea was a little bit better, and shame on me.
Well, we actually did throw out quite a few ideas on the table, and but what we have written down right now, though, is you start with the bandit captain, and the change you make is you throw out multi-attack. But in return, you give them legendary actions. And you get 2 legendary actions. And the first one is Blade Storm, which costs actually 2 of those legendary actions. The Crusader moves up to its speed and targets each creature within 5 feet of it during its movement. Each creature must succeed on a DC 14 dex save or take 1d6 plus 3 slashing damage.
The whirling dervish.
What?
Pretty much.
It's called a whirling dervish.
It's true. The Crusader's movement during its action does not trigger attacks of opportunity.
That's great. I
Correct.
like that.
And the other legendary action, which only costs 1, is the Crusader lets loose a battle cry that can be heard up to 300 feet away. If there is an ally within range, roll initiative, and a guard joins the battle next round.
That's cool, actually. I like that a lot. I don't know why. I like the idea of just like this dude who's just like that has obvious influence everywhere, and he's just like, I need more men, and he just screams for like 3 seconds, and everyone else is looking guy like, what the fuck? this guy's just screaming, and then you're like, around later, and this guy comes out of a fucking tree, and he's like, I'm here to help you, boss. And you're just like, oh, that makes more sense. He can't do that again, guys. That's bad.
It's a legendary action. Like, unless you get him on surprise, like the first time you're like, I do some shit. He's like, okay, you did that shit. Watch this. Hey, motherfuckers! And then like two more are running towards you.
Yeah,
because he can get 2 legendary actions, so he can do this twice each round potentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
Legendary actions is a very, 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 and I'm not judging it. This is not saying it about this, but legendary actions have to be very, very carefully weighed when you put them on bad guys.
Oh, it's true.
Absolutely.
So powerful.
Honestly, I wonder. So, not for all these, but when I go to use one of these in my games, I spend a lot of time running them in a solo encounter test where I've got a party and I see how long they can go generally. And one thing I've learned, and I think everyone will agree with, if you purely go, well, I'm always right.
I'm sorry.
So,
I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm here for comic relief. That's all I know.
Some people believe that the CR rating is inaccurate and that the monsters aren't challenging enough at the rate they are. Now, that's under the assumption that the players have no magic items, which then as soon as you give a player a magic weapon in the first couple levels, you've already thrown out the CR rating in any of the monsters. So go ahead.
So here's something I found. It's worth writing down. It's worth remembering for most DMs, I think. A encounter CR is balanced against a 4-player party and not much magic and badass optimization. So if you add 2 party members, for example, well, there's a chart that says, okay, now the CR and the hit points and everything about this monster encounter goes up 50% twice, so 100% more. And you're like, now 2 of them are fucking optimally equipped. Okay, well, that's another 25%. Like, I have figured out with this little chart, and I run these encounters, and everybody's like, oh shit, at the end, they're like, oh, I used all my shit. I almost lost some hit points and stuff. I'm like, yeah, because it's hard. Because you guys, the thing is supposed to have 41 hit points, the metagamer. Hey, that thing has 41 hit points. Fuck you. You see where it says DM on my shirt? 123 hit points. Roll initiative,
Now, in this
you just have to adjust it to make it balanced.
In this situation, honestly, when I first started, I wasn't super great at this. I've gotten a lot better over the years. The reason why this is, I agree 100%. It is dangerous, but the amount of damage that 2 of those guys can put out is just a little more than his multi-attack. And since we got rid of that, it's just it's still within the top end damage of the recommendation. Now, that's assuming that he uses it twice in 1 round every round. Now, the things it summons only have 11 hit points, so most players can chop them up in a single blow. But what this is supposed to do, well, first of all, the inspiration was a card that when it came into play, it summons a guy. So I had to stick with that theme. But the other thing I like about this is it gives a good sense of an ongoing flow of battle. Because sometimes people go into a keep and assault it, and they only fight the shit in the first room when you know damn well somebody like, hey, there's fucking intruders, everyone get in here and kill them.
Well, do you guys ever use waves on the battle map?
Oh, hell yeah. Waves, that's what that is.
Yeah. That was a critical thing that I guess I learned playing a couple of years ago. And I learned that playing with a friend in Tomb of Annihilation. I was like, I am a fucking beast mode. And he's like, here comes zombies. And I'm like, smash, smash, smash. And you just tick, 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 tick. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have always used all my smites and I touch myself for healing and all of that shit. And he's like, yeah. And in this round, these all move forward. And I'm like, they're getting close now again. He's like, yeah. And then there's 17 on the back. I'm like, guys, this is not gonna be good. We gotta get the fuck out of here. So you can use waves as like these almost railroad deterrents. Like people are like, I want to go this way. Okay.
And there's some DMs that I don't think realize that too.
No, you don't have to be so controlling with the narrative about it either.
Right.
You can use your combat like that pretty easily.
Before we move on, do you guys have any other comments on this?
Did you want me to mention some of my other ideas I came up with?
Yeah, sure. Knock yourself out.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I didn't include them honestly because I was lazy, didn't want to go back and edit it.
And that's fine.
To be all honestly.
These are bad guys. What's this section is ideas for monster variants. So you're just taking normal monster manual stuff and giving it a subclass or a cool
Yep,
feature.
you take away some of its stuff because we still try to keep it balanced. So they often have to lose some certain features, but then we add things to kind of offset them to make them different. That's why they're a variant.
Yep. And the couple other ideas I pitched too, and I'll think this is totally optional at this point, is I thought they're supposed to be Spartans. I'm like, how about we give them shields and we give them the guardian or defensive fighting style? And on top of that, also give him a legendary action too, where him and allies can do a move action for free with the idea of they're marching in formation.
Yeah.
Well, you know what that's akin to is you setting up guards in a battle. And you're going to go fight guards with minis, like you're going to go fight multiple models, like a Warhammer fight almost. Well, what you can do is you can say these guys are Roman phalanx blank whatevers.
Right.
They and give them the Sentinel feat. Ooh. Now you got really close if you get too close to 3 or 4 of them at once and get fucking wrecked. And what you're doing is just adding a little bit of depth on something that normally doesn't have the possibility to add that depth to it. Putting a feat into a monster. That's great.
Yeah.
I like that a lot too, yeah. And I can definitely see where it, depending in certain situations, could be a bit powerful, but
Oh, absolutely, and
if there's like 5 of them and they're all marching like this, like, hey buddy, you want to try and hit us? And you're just looking at them like, nah.
Well, I think that's an opportunity where that's a great setup that the DM can set up and deliver for an opportunity for that wizard to cast that fireball and nuke shit that he wanted to.
That's true. Again,
that's tying for me. This is all ties back to session 0 and bringing someone we're role playing. And are you role playing with someone who wants to hack and slash? Are you role playing with someone who wants to role play a lot?
He has quite a few hack and slashers in his party.
For me, I want you to be scared of losing your character, even if you don't get attached to it. I want you to be engaged in the story to where shit seems like you're just getting by in the nick of time and it's all sort of scripted for you, even though you're making the choices and you're running through the bar that's exploding. Shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Yeah.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, the oops. From the bar that's exploding.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, that's what I was saying earlier. I told Justin a little bit about this. Basically, I think the best DMing moment was when I realized that I took all the characters that I make because you make characters, you're like, this weekend I'm going to work on my new campaign, the thing with the waterfall I told you guys about where they go up the river. I'm going to draw a map to that shit, and they're going to talk about the farmer, and there's going to be all kinds of NPCs. Friday, Sunday, what'd you do, bro? How's the river farm fucking map? You're like, oh, dude, I made these 7 new warlocks, They're all related. So you take all that shit and you turn those into bad guys. That's sort of been my
oh yeah,
for a long
absolutely.
Time. So that's how I came up with a party. Basically, you have the autumn people. Something wicked this way comes, led by the halfling. They have the Kronk guy. They have a Yon T paladin. They're fun characters, and then make them bad guys.
All right, so moving on, you actually are providing an encounter for us to discuss today, right?
Sure, yes.
There, John Day, would you like to tell us about the Assassin Vines encounter and how that kind of unfolds so we can poke and prod at it?
Yeah, so Assassin Vines came upon twice. Once when I played Assassin Vines, and if you'll look up Assassin Vines, I'll even look it up myself so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I was playing with them once again in Chult, in Tomb of Annihilation, one of my favorite modules. Assassin Vines 5e.
Okay.
Now, was this something that was officially released? Because I couldn't find it in any of my books. Or is this like a... Or was it like a homebrew?
That's right, you stupid bastard. That was for me. Hold on.
I see something here.
Yeah.
Described it in
here we go.
Ghost of Saltmarsh.
Assassin Vine is a semi-mobile plant that collects its own grisly fertilizer by grabbing and crushing animals and depositing its carcass near its roots.
That's awesome.
That's hardcore.
A mature plant consists of a main vine about 20 feet long. So base attack is grapple at a +3 and a +12. It's got a slam +7 melee. Another full attack, and I think it's a 6d6 poison when it gets you. Hold on, let me look. Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
It can do some fun stuff to players.
So this sounds great. I like this because if the players are one of two things, they don't know what's going to happen. It starts pulling them when they're sleeping in their bags like little delicious knapsacks.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going into an area that's heavily invested. Stupid stuff from investiture got into my head from the stupid Brandon Sanderson's books. They go in, they know they're going to encounter these things, and they try to prepare for them. I think this would make a great for an opportunity because you can have all the characters being pulled by multiples of these in all different directions, so that they're forced to fight
Dude,
on their
these
own.
things this is a large plant, okay? 85 hit points against once again, I'm gonna caveat against a level 4. So I'm dealing with 5 or 6 badasses, belt buckles and all. I'm running this thing at 150 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a speed of 5 feet, a climb of 5 feet, strength of 18, constitution of 16, damage resistant to cold and fire, immune to blinded, death, and exhaustion, prone. None of that shit works on it. All your prone shit.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's got a challenge rating of 3. So this is a CR3 creature. Now here's what's up. False appearance. When the assassin vine remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from a normal plant.
That's the scary part.
Yep.
because you can walk into a group of these things or right up to this
Correct.
thing and not see it.
Correct.
You'll never know. Yep.
Correct. So so actions are constrict. So when it constricts, big grapple, 2d6 plus 4 bludgeon.
It's really
On top of
destroying
that
them.
is a 6d6 poison at the start of each turn.
So
yeah.
is there a limit to how many it can entangle? Like, does it say that it can only hold one at a time?
Right here on that particular one constrict, the vine can constrict only one target at a time.
Okay.
There you
So I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking of how I would make this encounter super
Yeah.
engaging.
Yeah.
So I like the idea. The traditional scene should be in the forest and dragging over the stuff, but I love the idea of having like a rip or a crack in the area that's full of like swampy mud and everything, and it's dragging the person through it. So they have to now make saves from like drowning, much like the what is the big giant nature beast, the shambling mound. The shambling mound engulfs them. I would even add that ability as it's dragging them through like a marshy area, so that they are potentially could be drowned.
So what I did is they really kicked my ass and nearly cost me my character's life in Tomb of Horrors, which is a brutal campaign.
That is brutal.
So I decided to turn it up a notch. Bam. For my characters, they were like, "We are so tired, and it is hard for all the mosquitoes and stuff and shot that kill us." And I'm like,
You see nothing yet.
"There's the cave." And they're like, "There's a cave?" And I'm like, "There's a cave. Like, and then near the jungle, there's sort of a large rock outcropping like Rats of Nim. And there's a big under to it. And it seems to be nice." And they're like, "We like it." And I'm like, "Yeah, you do." And so they went over there, and there were these beautiful, nice vines. And they found fruit and shit growing on them.
Oh, that's a smorgasbord for the plant, but they think it's for them.
Correct. So they went and picked the fruit. But see, what I did is I backed up the plants. I gave the plants, the assassin vines basically were under the mind control of a very evil druid
Love
who
it.
was a toxic druid, sort of like the old Ferngully toxic, and had a sort of a Nausicaa Valley of the Wind thing going, and waited till they were all asleep.
Yep. Making this quick, that reminds me of like one Pathfinder game I played where we escaped from slavery. We took refuge inside what we thought this abandoned temple. We summoned a sloth so we could kill it for meat.
Yeah.
Bastards.
And then as we were trying to skin it, we got attacked by raptors because it smelled the carcass. We killed the raptors, And it turned out the temple that were took refuge in was a necromancer temple, so all the raptors and the sauce we killed came back to life as zombies and attacked us while we were trying to sleep.
It's just one of those great encounters where
Just
with
more
assassin
downhill.
vines, you can put them in a temple, you can put them in a dungeon, you can put
Right.
them in anything. It's just a wonderful, wonderful, simple dungeon mechanic. You're like, the players are like, what does it look like? And you're like, well, it looks like there's wood, there's like stone walls, man. There's like you walk and there's stone walls. It's a dungeon or a castle or whatever the fuck it is.
Got
There's
some-
some vines and dirt and stuff and vines and dirt and walls. You good? And they're like, "Yeah, but hey, we check for traps." And I'm like, there's no fucking traps. Like, we did our perception test, and I'm like, none of you roll above a 16, so it's good. Everything's fine.
Looks good.
All right.
Looks clear.
And then, here's the thing. Also, I want a small 10-second rant. Fuck passive perception. In general, it's okay, but these people are like, I'm not paying attention. I have a passive perception of 18. I see everything the book says is 16. Suck a dick. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You're not. You have to look for it. You're not paying attention.
That was about 18 seconds.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I think that's a great encounter. I definitely am going to use that because I love stuff like that. So I'll have
You
to.
like
Sure. You have to
reminds me
remember
of
that the druid has plant growth. That's the thing. If you're in a
Spike
plant area, plant growth and spike growth are some of the most overpowered spells in the game, especially at their level. If you really look at what they do,
Right.
and then you start hiding myconid mushroom people that the druid can cast enlarge on. You're like a little mushroom that runs up to you that's 3 foot, and you're like, oh, fucking mushroom. All of a sudden, they cast enlarge. It's a 900-pound mushroom that's slamming you with poison spores.
I'm just
But
seeing.
players are like, this is not Dungeons and Dragons. This is Attack of the Toxic Garden. What the fuck? You're like, it's 5e rules. It's raw, bitch. I did it all this time.
I'm envisioning Mario going to pick one of those mushrooms and it growing and stomping on his ass.
Yeah, I like to have a good time.
I think that'll do it for our encounter of the podcast, Assassin Vines. Austin, would you like to tell us about our magic item?
Absolutely. I love magic items and
Me
talking
too.
about them.
I just
This is
don't
the
like
best
giving
part.
them to my players.
Yeah, but that's okay, you know?
Though I did just give you a legendary one, so I want to hear it.
Did you though? Was that a plot device?
Why can't it be both?
I guess you're right. Anyway, this magic item today is the Chain to Memory. Again, this is more part of our little Theros theme that's going on. Pretty fun stuff. It's a wondrous item, and it's uncommon. Do you want me to read the details?
Yeah, you can read the flavor text.
Okay.
From the
Those,
card.
I don't know. It's just like, those who do not learn from their mistakes are bound to relive them. When you miss with a spell attack of 3rd level or lower, roll a d20. On a 19 or 20, you regain the expended spell. That is so good. What? You regain the expended spell slot. You cannot use this feature again until you finish a short or long rest. Okay. So immediately, this should be, I think, a rare item. Well, I guess it's only.
It's supposed to be
third
long
level or
rest
lower.
only. I put it on short rest. It's supposed to, I had some
Okay.
discussions and it should be long. I fixed it.
I
There you
was
go.
like, short rest?
long
Hello?
rest.
Yeah, but 19 or 20, so it's pretty.
Yeah.
A 10% chance of getting it off in the first place. So
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really think. Just the immediacy that flash in my eyes. I was like, could you imagine this on like a
Warlock?
like a paladin or a warlock or something, where they're
works,
just
yeah.
kind of like, I don't know. You just like I use the command spell. Well, I guess it would be a spell attack, so I guess it'd be something else. It'd have to be like,
I think a short rest is probably fine.
yeah, I could see it be
Because
fine.
you still have to get a
19
or
and 20, yeah, it's still pretty tough to get, but yeah, just the idea of gaining back spell slots is just kind of crazy at any given time. But I like it a lot. I mean, the thing is, you have to miss with a spell attack, so it can't be like saving throws. I'm assuming,
Not a
right?
fireball, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still fairly limited. Yeah, I like it a lot. What is the chain to memory exact? Is it just like a literal chain that they hold on to, or is it like a
necklace?
like a necklace?
Honestly, I forgot.
I guess either way would be fine, or like
I was looking at like 20 cards and shit when so this has got like a, I don't know, it looks like he's holding it around, it's wrapped around his arm, so
it's like
it basically you target a creature and it allows them to manipulate their spells. It's their deck.
Okay.
It weakens a creature and lets them manipulate their deck. So this was manipulating their memory or their spells in this case.
Okay. So that's kind of cool though.
Yeah. I come to this shit just randomly, so
yeah,
it's like that looks like it fits. What do you think about this, John?
I like it. It's not terribly overpowered.
It's the first glance that really it threw me off guard, just because the whole, you gain a spell slot back.
Well, the Pearl of Power, I mean, spell slots are, once again, it's economy. I like the Pearl of Power. I like things that give me spell slots back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even, dips and Warlock if I have to, but it's okay.
Thanks. It's okay.
Ian,
what do you think?
Yep. As is, I think the short resting can stay, just because the odds of just even working in the first place is low. So
yeah,
it's you get a 10% chance.
Right.
So basically, you get a 10% chance of anything that you miss with.
Just spell attacks, so it's not even like fireball or anything like that.
Yeah, that's
the big one, I think, for me.
But then you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So
yeah, no, this shouldn't require attunement. This is that's not overpowered. This is
and it's third level or lower spells too. So
right.
And even if you don't get the 19 or 20, so like you hit the 90%, you don't get to use it again. You you lose the chance.
Without attunement, I could see it. I would never put any sort of 10% chance on an attunement slot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me personally.
It's good stuff. Though,
honestly, it wasn't there to begin with, but then his reaction, how powerful it was, I was like, I probably better add that in there.
Because again, it was the first glance, right? Because it's always the power to regain spell slots is always interesting, and sometimes can be scary.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have you guys ever heard of the Evermord's Pocket Watch?
Overlord's Pocket
No,
Watch.
Evermord's, EVERMORDE''S Pocket Watch. Evermord's.
Okay.
I have not.
See if you can pull it up. My DM just gave me one in our last adventure, and I did not know it exists. He really caught me by surprise with this magic item. Evermord's Pocket Watch not only tells time, but allows the user to manipulate it. Fluff. 1+1 to AC, saving throws, passive perception due to their second sense of future actions. The watch has 5 charges on it per day. This is D&D Beyond. It's not like someone made it up. Well,
somebody made it up.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna push us along a little bit because we are running very late.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That'll do it for our magic item. Our Dungeon Master tip of the podcast is pressure plates of varying weight. If you play with goblins, kobolds, halfling, gnomes, they would actively build traps that trigger with heavier people, not lighter people. So you can really trick the shit out of people. So, kind of really quick so we can close up here. What do you guys think about that? Is that something you've used before or you would see or like?
I love it. Come get me, suckers!
I
love it.
Tell them to yell at you, and then you run after them because you're angry, and then you die. Hooray!
Yeah.
And I see them give them the finger as they're running backwards, running away.
Yeah. I'd be one of the bastards to die.
What are we going to do? Hey, send the halfling. Okay, send the halfling. The halfling walks across, turns around, thumbs up. Everything's okay.
Looks clear.
Yeah.
Very much a very funny trap thing that I was thinking about and I thought would be a great dungeon master because who's going to expect that? If you're chasing kobolds down a hallway and they're running freely, you're not probably going to stop and think to look for traps. You know what I mean? So that'll do it for our dungeon master tip, varying weights on pressure plates. Our player tip of the podcast is don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by utilizing the one that got away. Your character doesn't regret life as a hero, but there is someone in their past who occasionally makes them wonder how things might have been gone differently. When building your character, consider adding someone in your character's life who could have led them, maybe a lost lover, a mentor, a rival, a best friend, or even an employer. This sort of thing really helps flesh out your character and, more importantly, give some stuff for the DM to play with. What do you think, John?
Yeah, that's don't be a dick. just that's really, you can have a view. You can disagree. That's the beauty of this game. I can play a game, especially Dungeons and Dragons, with somebody I disagree with. If we can settle our shit in session 0 and everybody knows what's up, I can be okay with it. People are like, I won't play with I only play with Lord of the Rings. I'm not playing with a goddamn bunch of party. Looks like Sesame Street. And I'm like, like, oh, it's fine. You can play this, you can do that. Yeah, just don't be a dick. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. We give you a new way to not be a dick every episode. What do you two think, real quick?
I think this actually ties a little bit more to my character Zorax on our sessions, actually, because the whole he's got a wife, but I never really incorporate her at all.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm really waiting for it to happen somehow, so I'm kind of expecting her to. Honestly, I'm kind of expecting her to die at some point. But
oh no, death is too good.
Oh yeah, death is easy. I forgot. Death is very easy in this game. But I'm actually kind of like,
And
it makes me think like, I could have just made it so like maybe he was always this kind of like evil-ish kind of dude where he didn't give a crap about anybody, and then she kind of came on and was like, hey, you should be nice to that guy for once. He might give you something in return, and he's like, that works. That works like that. That kind of thing. But
very cool.
So yeah, I might need to incorporate that immediately.
I feel like this too, and keeping this short, the very first thing I thought about when I read this was in the show Supergirl. There was throughout the series, she became friends with a character, but then they became enemies, short version.
Yes.
And she was given the opportunity to try to go back in time and fix their friendship. By the time she came back into the present, everything was objectively way worse than it was before. And eventually she realized, you know what? Yes, this sucked, but at the end of the day, I am not responsible for this person's actions.
That's awesome, and I am now, because I have seen that, and I'm now going to incorporate that into my game, because I had totally forgotten about that. That was one of the few things I really liked about that show.
I'd like to do something like that. I'd like to get you guys together and try maybe even play Coon and Friends. A game I wrote basically where it has an awakened raccoon and his warforged friends.
Nice.
Right.
Sounds cool.
We'll talk more about that another time.
Sounds good. Well, I think that'll do it for our show today. Thank you so much for joining us today, John.
I appreciate it. No, thank you for joining me.
Please join us on our next episode where we'll be discussing 5th edition Team Deathmatch.
That sounds so dope.
This is a player versus player arena rules. And the rules are very interesting because it's not just player versus player. There's special respawn rules. You got rooms like one that's like a giant mincer where every single section of it is an active treadmill that's constantly pushing you towards a meat grinder, which I just think is fantastic.
Oh yeah, always
fun.
You
gotta do one like in Flash Gordon.
I haven't seen that because I'm not that old.
So it's basically a floating disc over an abyss that turns, and it rotates and then spikes come up.
Oh, that's really cool.
Okay.
Or the engine room in Galaxy Quest.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm really excited to talk about that. I know we're gonna have to try to find a way to get together and play and really test it out because I've read through it, but I haven't played it yet. So Austin, would you help close us out real quick?
Absolutely. If you have any feedback on our tips and tricks or topics you would like us to discuss, please send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook at Critacademy.
We hope you enjoyed We hope you enjoyed your experience here at Crit Academy. If you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a hopefully 5-star review on iTunes, or just send us a message telling us how much you enjoyed the show. And also, be sure to give us a like and a share.
Make sure to subscribe to our show at critacademy.com. Follow us on Twitch, on YouTube. Subscribe. For everywhere you find podcasts, right? By heading over to our website, you can be entered to win win cool prizes each and every single week. Make sure to check out our fellowship members. If you have not listened to Inter-Party Conflict, Gabe and Jeff are awesome. I would argue that their podcast is probably way more beneficial and informative than ours because there's a lot of fucks in ours and there's none in theirs. They did just release 6 episodes of an actual play that I was a part of, and I got to finally listen through it all, and oh my god, it was so much fun. Gabe, if you're listening to this shit, we need to do that again. I demand it. That being said, before we close out, do you want to give yourself one more plug there, John?
Yeah, man, come see me. Come follow the adventures of Kevin Smith, not that Kevin Smith, at the Game Shoppe. Check it out on Facebook or at _Kevin Smith.
Yes, definitely
Yeah,
check it out.
yeah, I think I just did that recently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you again for coming on the show. We had a blast. We hope you enjoyed yourself here as well, John.
Oh man, I like I haven't emailed you about being part of the show yet, but it's on. So
Fair enough.
And I'm gonna work that out.
All right. I am your host, Justin.
And I am your parentheses name parentheses. The John Day.
I'm your co-host Ian.
And I'm your co-host Austin. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blade sharp and spells prepared, heroes.